$1.2 billion GRIFT agreement sealed to finance Amerindian development projects. 8 communities receive land titles, and Londoners holding up as the president continues appeal for restoration of order. We'll bring you the details of these and other stories in this week's edition of The Diary as we recap the highlights of the week, August 4 to 10. I am your host, Fabian Kraus. Do stay tuned.
The health sector can be considered as a training institution since Guyanese are afforded the opportunity to pursue medical training in a number of fields, including medicine, nursing, and surgery at the postgraduate level, midwifery, dentistry, and technicians. All of these ensure efficient delivery of healthcare. A message from the Government Information Agency.
For 2012, government will invest $11.8 billion to sustain and improve its roads and bridges network, of which $10.9 billion will be spent on roads and $964 million on bridges. This will improve access to farmlands, the continuation of several major road projects in urban and hinterland areas, and the rehabilitation of the Demerara Harbour Bridge and the Chedijagan International Airport.
The Women of Worth program, a microcredit scheme introduced to lift the economic standing of especially single parents, has transformed the lives of over 2,300 women. Tapping into the loan facility has enabled them to better their and their families' lives.
The 2012 budget has allocated $7.8 billion for the continuation of drainage and irrigation investments made in 2011, and under which the Northern Relief Channel is to be advanced, and several other intake structures and relief sluices rehabilitated. This continuity is to ensure Guyana improves its productivity and its export markets.
The Guyana government feels vindicated in its efforts to prove to the world that its forest resources are among its most valuable assets, and that those at the center should benefit from the remuneration it deserves for providing an environmental service to the world. 3 days after the opening of the National Tushao Council meeting and the assurance by the head of state that the government remains on course in its support of Amerindian development, Guyana and the United Nations Development Programme signed off on a $1.2 billion agreement for the funding to the Amerindian Development Fund that will support community development projects designed and approved at the village level. Signing on behalf of the Guyana government was Minister of Finance Dr. Ashni Singh and Minister of Amerindian Affairs Pauline Sukai, and on behalf of the UNDP, UN Resident Representative Khadija Musa.
They are yours. You chose them, you will implement them, and you will learn to grow them. So I would like to congratulate each and every one of you for reaching to this point and commit UNDP to walk the rest of the way with you together.
The signing, which came at the behest of the head of state to the Minister of Finance, ended almost 2 years of waiting and anxiety for the funds Guyana earned through partnership with the Kingdom of Norway, that is considered a model forest carbon service agreement.
The Norwegian has shown a great clarity of purpose, and for that reason I want to thank them and the international community, and hope that we will make this a success that can be replicated in other countries where they have standing forests in place.
The Amerindians were expecting the funds last year to kickstart their village projects, but the unanticipated delay prompted the government to draw funding from the National Treasury.
We now know that we have an extremely valuable resource, and it is only right that those people who have preserved this for such a long time should try to benefit as much as possible from it. I am therefore happy. We know that since we have been in government, we have worked tirelessly to improve the quality of life for the people in the interior. I think we have done extremely well as far as the social sector is concerned, and we have much more to do to try to ensure their economic position. And these funds will be allocated into projects to try to ensure that we have sustainable economic projects that will benefit the villages, all the villages, and you will be in charge of developing that yourselves.
Under the Guyana-Norway Memorandum of Understanding, Guyana will earn up to $250 million in forest carbon payments by 2015, and having discharged its obligations in implementing the terms and conditions in the MOU, the Norwegians made 2 disbursements totaling $70 million to the Guyana Red Investment Fund that is being managed by the World Bank. The government had earmarked $18.3 billion from the anticipated funds to land titling, but the process was hindered when the opposition political parties by a 1-seat majority rejected the allocation in the National Assembly.
The combined opposition went on a cutting spree, and they even cut programs for the vulnerable. They even put in danger the provisions of solar panels for the Amerindian community. They put in danger the 1 laptop per family. They put in danger several programs that we have to enhance the quality of life in our country. What they did was unconstitutional, and we have put back that to the Parliament on this Thursday, and we will see the sincerity if they will vote for it or not.
On the 4th day of the conference, 8 Amerindian villages received titles to their lands after the head of state handed over certificates to the respective Tushals. The villages are Keto, Cariabo, Batavia, Cambaru, Tasserine, Kanguruma, Rupanau, and Riversview.
The committed position of this government is to complete the titling of Amerindian villages for the application that is submitted. The 2 years or more that we've waited for funds from GRIF, we cannot, sometimes of course, we cannot wait forever. So we have had to utilize some funds to get this moving forward. Another year delay is delaying and putting the Amerindian communities at greater risk.
The newly titled villages now reduced to 5 the remaining communities to be titled, as the government fulfilled its mandate through the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs of completing the process in all Amerindian villages. Day 3 of the National Tushal Conference was dedicated to open dialogue with the head of state and his cabinet, and the Tushals didn't hesitate to speak their minds on a number of issues that are affecting them. The leaders had some reservations about projects in the interior regions and made clear their desire for more involvement of residents in contractual works.
There's a road that is building which will accommodate the hydro. Our village is situated nearly 4 miles away from the road. And it is sad to say that we in the village are not employed in this big project. We're not part of it. We're not benefiting from it financially. So I don't know how we can be involved, but we're not directly involved from that project.
I understand that the civil aviation is paying someone to maintain this district, and it's the Lake Mainstay Resort. I'm not pleased with that. I believe that the village should be paid to maintain this district. And I'm asking you to address this for me, please.
Meanwhile, concerns about the quality of work on some projects in the hinterland prompted President Ramotar to reinforce the mandate for villages and communities to obtain and peruse details on contracts awarded to their areas.
I myself saw, when I traveled through some of the villages, I saw in Bamboo Creek. I was at Bamboo Creek, I went into the school and saw some of the poor work that was done on the floor and so forth. And that is why I'm advising my ministers now that whenever they have, and I think this was a decision that was there before, but I would like to see them enforce this, that when there is any project happening in your community, that you should also have a copy of the contract to ensure that you're getting you see what the government is paying for, and you ensure that you get what the government is paying for to enhance the quality of services in your areas.
The President and his cabinet were also confronted with queries about the arrival of solar panels for the Hinterland electrification program. The panels have been procured and the Office of the Prime Minister has fulfilled its mandate in distributing some, but the pace at which the process is moving is testing the patience of the Tushau's.
I promise you that you will get it. I can't promise you exactly when, but it is here, and all the villages will have the solar panel. I just want to assure you of that. One of the reasons that things have slowed down a bit, we could have been faster. You heard some of the government saying that their villages already got. It could have been faster, but it was not helped by the cuts that we had in the budget.
Although delayed by the cuts to the national budget, it is the government's intention to install solar panels in all communities in the hinterland to facilitate the electrification program. But some Amerindians have mooted ideas for the use of the panels.
We no longer want wells to be drilled and solar pumps installed, but we want solar pumps to be installed at our wells that we would dig, because the wells that are drilled, the water is salty. People are comfortable drinking that type of water. We are accustomed to drinking water from the wells that we dig. So if solar pumps can be installed there, that would be, a lot of money would be saved in drilling wells.
The conference was held under the theme Establishing Strategic Approaches and Alliances for Sustaining Amerindian Development. You're watching The Diary, more still ahead.
The health sector can be considered as a training institution, since Guyanese are afforded the opportunity to pursue medical training in a number of fields, including medicine, nursing and surgery at the postgraduate level, midwifery, dentistry and technicians. All of these ensure efficient delivery of healthcare. A message from the Government Information Agency.
For 2012, government will invest $11.8 billion to sustain and improve its roads and bridges network, of which $10.9 billion will be spent on roads and $964 million on bridges. This will improve access to farmlands, the continuation of several major road projects in urban and hinterland areas, and the rehabilitation of the Demerara Harbour Bridge and the Cherijagan International Airport.
The Women of Worth program, a microcredit scheme introduced to lift the economic standing of especially single parents, has transformed the lives of over 2,300 women. Tapping into the loan facility has enabled them to better their and their families' lives.
The 2012 budget has allocated $7.8 billion for the continuation of drainage and irrigation investments made in 2011, and under which the Northern Relief Channel is to be advanced, and several other intake structures and relief sluices rehabilitated. This continuity is to ensure Guyana improves its productivity and its export markets.
With a staff complement of 1,700 and plans in the near future to open a branch at Sparandam and Providence, Qualfund Guyana Incorporated is projected to grow in stature. The Chief Executive Officer, Board Chairman and other executives told the Head of State all about their plans on August 7. The Qualfund Guyana Center is ranked superior to the other service operations around the world owing to a well-managed cost structure and properly trained staff. Within 1 month, approximately 1,000 employees will begin occupying the new Sparandam branch, and there are plans to establish another site at Providence on the east bank of Demerara. The company's Chief Executive Officer Mike Marrow and Board Chairman Alfonso Gonzalez Aroca were in Guyana for an executive meeting and met the Head of State in the process.
The speed at which we put people depends on our clients. We service other companies and we do customer service for them, talking to their customers, and we work with them in terms of where do they want to have the business and how fast do they want to increase the business.
Qualfund Guyana officially began operations in November 2005 with 50 customer service agents in a rented section of a complex at Betafawakting, which is now fully occupied as the business expanded. It has since grown in reputation as the second biggest Qualfund center, with reputable working relations with the Guyana government.
One of our key locations that we're really happy with is here in Guyana. Part of what our mission is it's two parts. One is to have a call center outsource company that does a fantastic job for our clients, and they in turn want us to do more for them, and that's how we fill up the second center and the third center.
Winner of the Best Partner Award by clients, Qualfund has an international presence in almost every country in Latin America, the United States, Europe, and Asia, with a quick response to any service requirement via telephone, fax, web, email, and short message service. The government has been welcoming to investments like Qualfund that create job opportunities for Guyanese and promote development in the information communication technology sector. After detailing the rationale for taking a phased approach to the new electricity tariff in Linden and the implications of current protest actions in the Bauxite Town, the head of state in an open letter on August 7 urged a restoration of normalcy in the town for an end to unlawful actions. The head of state said he is aware of the great hardship and difficulties that people are facing as a result of the blocking of roads and bridges within the community, but believes that the unnecessary suffering is no fault of theirs. The death of 3 and the destruction of property when police and protesters clashed on July 18 was also highlighted in the open letter. A comprehensive commission of inquiry into the incidents and the terms of reference have been agreed to at talks between the government and the leadership of the Region 10 administration and the opposition political parties. The government undertook to put on hold the proposal for a phased implementation of the electricity tariff hike and the appointment of a committee to review all dimensions of this issue and to recommend options for a resolution of the problem. The protest actions at Linden are causing great discomfiture for other regions that depend on the thoroughfare that pass through the Bauxite Town. Goods and services have been curtailed and fuel prices inflated. Government is justifying its position to implement the new system on a premise that fuel prices have risen and the subsidy provided for electricity in Linden has become unsustainable. The president explained that the government never intended to remove the subsidy applied to electricity as was propagated. Members of the Disabled People's Network Committee representing units in Regions 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7 made a pitch to the government for support in the construction of centers that are outfitted with the necessary amenities convenient for persons with physical challenges. The members of the committee, led by Chairman Lloyd Griffith, sought an audience with the head of state in support to acquire the requisite resources that will make life easier for the differently abled people. Plots of land have been identified at Vrymans Irvin in Region 6 and another in Region 7 for the proposed centers, and an overseas donor has promised to finance the construction of one of the buildings. Authorization for the occupation of the land is pending. Minister of Human Services and Social Security Jennifer Webster was part of the meeting that also discussed public assistance initiatives with the group. Hailed among the largest event in the ancient county and growing in stature, the 8th Trade Fair and Exposition, Berbice Expo, opened on the evening of August 10th at the Albion Community Center ground. It provides a slot for local businesses to showcase their products and for Berbicians to examine goods and services for consumption. Friends and family also find opportunities for clean fun and entertainment. President Ramatar made his first appearance at the event since taking office last year as the country's head of state.
Allow me to congratulate you putting together this Berbice Expo, which I think has now become an annual feature and a very important item on your agenda.
The trade fair and exposition is being hosted at a time of great expansion in the Berbice County, evident with new shopping malls all across the region and investment inputs from the government in roads, bridges, drainage and irrigation and social services. The investment climate has been favorable even as the rest of the world is recovering from one of the worst economic and financial crises in history.
Berbice itself has made a major contribution to the development of our country. In this area, we have invested heavily and attracted investment in sugar, bauxite, infrastructure, the Berbice Bridge, for instance, information and communication technology, and we are working towards modernization and developing the service sector as well.
The Berbice Bridge has significantly reduced the time commuters took to cross the Berbice River by ferry, and while it is now a legacy of the PPPC administration, the government is somewhat surprised at factions in society who nitpick about the infrastructure.
They say people forgot the hours and hours it used to take them to get across the Berbice Bridge in the ferry. We have worked out a unique model to get that bridge built. We couldn't get money to borrow internationally to do that. So we worked out a combination of private sector and government participation and government institution to get the bridge built. Nowadays, a campaign is being started to say that the cost of crossing the bridge is too high. As I said, they forgot what it used to be like to cross the Berbice River.
The government had deemed calls for a restructuring of the toll system, which is weighed in proportion to the cost of one vehicle with 5 passengers to cross the ferry. Added to its legacy is the $200 million Skeldon Sugar Factory, which the government assures will be experienced. That's all in this week's edition of the Diary for the period August 4 to 10. Before we go, these were some of the highlights. A $1.2 billion GRIFT agreement is sealed to finance Amerindian development projects. 8 communities receive land titles, and protesters are holding up as the president continues his appeal for restoration of order in the bauxite town. Join us again when we'll bring you more. I'm Fiven Kraus, thanking you for joining us. You have a pleasant rest of the week.